Welcome, Senator Raptakis. My name is Jake McGuigan. I'm Managing Director of State Affairs for the National Shooting Sports Foundation. And today, Senator Raptakis came basically all the way across the country from the great state of Rhode Island to SHOT Show here to get an understanding of the industry, our economic impacts, and various other things that the industry offers. So first off, Senator Raptakis, what's your position on the Second Amendment, especially in a state such as Rhode Island?
Being a Democratic state senator, I'm proud that I voted against all 6 anti-gun bills, which was stellar. I think I'm probably the only Democrat out of a legislature in a Senate where we have 38 members, 5 Republicans, 33 Democrats. I was probably the only Democrat that had a stellar record. And being here, I think, is most important, especially listening to 6 governors earlier here today, how important the Second Amendment rights are and what it means to all of us as our safety as a public citizen for those rights to be taken away. You know what happens in some of these states where there's just out of control folks that want to just strip away every single aspect of Second Amendment rights. Going back to reducing. Now, why, for example, reducing a capacity of a magazine? What is that going to do? It does absolutely nothing. And what really bothers me is a lot of times we say, if you want gun control, you have to have crime control. They don't even want to have crime control. So I even introduced legislation, strict legislation, when someone steals a gun or uses a stolen weapon in a capital crime, it should be mandatory jail sentencing. They don't even want to hear it.
And that bill never moves. I know it's been there many years. And they don't want to focus on the individual, right? They want to focus on the actual item as opposed to those that are using it for the commission of a crime. Right. So this year in the legislative session in Rhode Island, I believe there was a little bit of a maneuver made by Governor McKee with placing what we'd call a quote-unquote assault weapon ban in the budget. How do you feel about that, and what do you think the options are?
That makes absolutely no sense, because I'm on the Judiciary Committee. Most legislation goes in front of the House Judiciary Committee and the Senate Judiciary Committee. It has to pass both chambers and then go to the governor for a signature. This is absolutely ridiculous to put it in the state budget, because they know, the individuals, the gun advocates know that, the anti-gun advocates, I should say, they know that a lot of folks will not vote against the budget. But let me tell you something, this is coming to a point where it's getting to be ridiculous, silly season. Have the bill, have a hearing on its merits, up or down in committee. Senate President is saying that if it doesn't pass committee, he'll withdraw the budget article against banning assault rifles. And now what do we say? What is an assault rifle? And I get very agitated where in Rhode Island, we've had no one that was killed by a AR-15, a common gun that is used by all individuals, sportsmen, sportswomen, whatever, but yet they classify that as an assault weapon. An assault weapon to me is a AK-47, an M16, but here's the issue.
Fully automatic.
Exactly, fully automatic. But what gets me is in Rhode Island, the last 5 years, we've had over 25 people, individual citizens, that have died due to drunk drivers. And what are drunk drivers using? An automobile. Now, can I classify that as an assault weapon? Of course. We've had 25 people that have died on average every year for the last 5 years due to negligence of some individual driving a vehicle, and I want to classify that as an assault weapon if I want to, but yet not one person has been killed using an AR-15 or the type of weapons that we see here, guns that we see at these shows that are used for sportsman activities, for gun enthusiasts. They just cross that line.
What's interesting, and I think it almost goes back to the quote-unquote high-capacity magazine ban in Rhode Island, is that essentially they pass it, they have their press release, they have their press conference, we're going to make Rhode Islanders safer with this bill, yet there's almost zero enforcement.
Correct.
Nobody turned in any magazines.
Correct.
And they're not prosecuting anyone in this. So what was the point of it in the first place?
It's absolutely was ridiculous. You don't go after the criminals, but you go after law-abiding citizens. That's what bothers me tremendously, and that's why I feel that we should always support our Second Amendment rights. And these advocates are just whatever they see, they'll push it in front of the assembly and voice their strong opposition against it. I think this is the year that we draw the red line, especially on an assault weapon ban, especially this ridiculous assault weapon ban. How they classify it, we don't know. But it's a shame that when you see today 6 governors from 6 Western states that are advocating the protection of our Second Amendment rights. And here's the issue. Those states probably have low crime rates. States like our states, like Rhode Island and Massachusetts and New York, with all these feel-good pieces of legislation, crime rates are probably a lot higher, murder rates are a lot higher.
What's interesting as well is the movement of firearms manufacturers, ammunition manufacturers, and companies within our industry going to those states.
Absolutely.
Obviously, the tax incentives, the economic incentives, the jobs that are created.
Smith & Wesson leaving Massachusetts, forcing over 1,000 people to lose their jobs. And what do? They move to a friendly state like Tennessee. And you see how many hundreds of companies have located to Second Amendment friendly states, which I think is very important. And they don't get it because it's an economic engine for employment for a lot of states. But again, we have an erosion where we don't care about Second Amendment rights. We don't care about law-abiding citizens that own guns, weapons, but especially when they don't go after criminals that use guns to kill illegally, to force mandatory jail time. And that's the bottom line, which really, it's an upside down world when you look at some of these states, mostly blue states.
Yes. Well, Senator Raptakis, I appreciate you making the trip out to SHOT Show again.
Thank you.
Senator Raptakis from Rhode Island, a Democratic state senator. Not as many out here as you'd expect.
Exactly.
But we appreciate your time today. So thank you, Senator.
My pleasure being here.
Thank you.